Hiya, good evening everyone. So my name's Sam and I am a member of the RCN Students Committee, and it is a pleasure to welcome you here tonight. So the reason we're all gathered here today is to find out more about the RCN so we can learn more about the services and resources that we've got. Some of you are members, some of you are not. So if you are a member already, it's really good to find out what you are getting with that. And if you're not a member, it's good to find out what you could be getting. So we've got Vicky from the RCN Library to talk us through their services. We've got Claire, who's a welfare advisor, to talk us through all sorts of wonderful things that's really beneficial as students. And we've got Alan, who's going to provide a pre-recorded session about the RCN Starting Out app, which you may never have heard of, or you may be very familiar with, but you will be by the end of tonight, either way. We will have plenty of time at the end of the session to ask questions. Please use the chat function. There are absolutely no stupid questions whatsoever. This is really your time to just ask basically what the RCN can give you. So a bit more about me. So my name's Sam. I'm a second year learning disability student nurse at the University of Hull. I got into learning disability nursing basically because I really enjoy the advocacy aspect of it. It's not my first degree, so I studied music beforehand at the University of Hull. And then I didn't really know that learning disability nursing existed, but it was kind of through that I saw more kind of what access was and accessible opportunities and stuff like that through music and arts and all that stuff. And I realised that advocacy and speaking up to people that don't necessarily get their voices heard, that's what drew me to that. So I'm a member of the RCN Students Committee. So what we have is, I'll put it on my screen so you get the right information. So we've got members basically representing the region from all around the country. So I'm Yorkshire and Humber, and we've got each of the 9 English regions. We've also got representatives from Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And we've got 1 member on the RCN Union Council. We've got 1 student member on the Trade Union Committee and 1 student member on the Professional Nursing Committee. Basically, at all points of the RCN, we make sure students are really well represented. That's really important to the RCN, that the student's voice gets heard. So we're kind of there. We can help to influence the policy and strategy and just kind of the wider work that the RCN does, which is really good. So we attend lots of meetings and they ask for feedback on various things with us, and we're informed a lot by our RCN student ambassadors, which you may or may not be aware of, but basically anyone who's a member can apply to be one. And basically they feed up to the students committee. So the ambassadors are generally the ones on the ground who knows what's going on, and they feed up to us. So in the Yorkshire and Humber region, we've got quite a lot of different student ambassadors, but we're always taking applications for more. So if you want to be one, and it's basically to make sure that the student voice gets properly fed up to the RCN. So that's a really good opportunity if you're interested to be an RCN student ambassador. So I've been involved in quite a lot of different things within my university because, as I said, I'm quite interested in advocacy, and that doesn't stop at the patients, that is also for staff. So I've done a lot of work as a course representative. Basically, I'm really big on, if people don't speak up about issues, people don't necessarily know how to fix them, or if everyone sits around waiting for someone else to raise something, then nothing will ever change. So I make sure as a course rep that any issues or anything that we see is fed back to the university, so that if they see it, they can solve it basically. I've been working quite closely with my students' union, who a lot of students outside of healthcare don't know just quite what student nurses go through. So it's been quite important to me that the students' union understands exactly what we do and how hard it is. Like when people in the university or the union say, oh yeah, well, you get the summer break and everything. No, we don't. It never stops. So it's just making sure that they really understand that. And another way that I've been quite involved in my students' union is by starting a nursing society. So this is like one of my proudest achievements so far as a student nurse. Basically, I started Hull's Nursing Society because I think it's really important that we get a community of student nurses, because as I said, it's really hard being a student nurse. It can be quite lonely. We see a lot of things on placement that we either might not be ready to see, or we might need a bit of support with. We might need someone to talk to who gets it. So it's really important to build that community, which I've really enjoyed. I think we've done really well with that. And I think as well, if you have a nursing society, like recognise what an amazing opportunity that is to find your community, especially after all the pandemic and everything. We've all been quite lonely and isolated. It's a nice way to get in touch with everyone. And I can't think of so placements that I've had so far. I've had one in the community, which was really good, and then COVID happened, so I had one that was kind of a virtual placement, which was an interesting experience. And I've just had a placement with the learning disability liaison nurse in a hospital, which was a whole other experience because learning disability nurses don't necessarily see what goes on in hospital. So it was quite interesting and blew my mind a little bit. And I'm very glad for the support that I got through the RCN for that, because there was a lot of things that I didn't know happened. It was just really good to get that support and support from the other student ambassadors as well. So that was really good. So we will go on to talk more about the RCN now. So we've got our first speaker, Vicky Killington, who is the info specialist for the RCN Library, and I will pass over to you.
Thank you so much, Sam, and the warmest of welcomes to everybody. And I'm going to try it out in Welsh because I'm based here in Cardiff. So, croeso cynnes a noswaith dda. So, I'm Vicky and I am one of your librarians. I am based in Wales, and I will touch in a couple of minutes on the fact that we have a physical library branch in each of the 4 countries of the UK. But of course, at the moment, sadly, we're all stuck at home. I really wish I could be with you in person. One of my favourite things to do is both to meet our new students and also to work with you. It's such a privilege, you know, just hearing what Sam's saying about the hard work that you have ahead of you. And you really do. It's hard for anyone to be a student. But as student nurses, you have a lot to carry on your shoulders. So really, we want to be here to support you all the way through your studies and then for your future career. There are no stupid questions. Again, to reiterate what Sam was just saying, we really want to make your life as easy as possible with all these amazing information resources we have for you. And I always like to brag a little bit. We are the largest nursing library in Europe. So we've got an awful lot of information. We've got all the good stuff for you. So that's actually a photo that you should be able to see on the screen. When we were able to open libraries back in the old times, that's 2 of my lovely students working at the PCs in Cardiff. Now, I understand that for some of you, you'd be quite remote anyway from our physical libraries, but that's okay because everything is available online as well, including now people like me. So you've got virtual Vicky with you tonight, and this can carry on for as long as needed. We can be doing these online remote sessions with you to help you through. So I think if we turn our page and we'll have a look at some of the benefits that we've got for you. Now, if you don't understand any of the language I'm using, that's fine. I have a bit of a tendency to speak librarian at people, so I try not to, but as I want to keep reiterating, there are no silly questions. Please, please, please come and ask me, any of my colleagues, and we'll be very happy to help. So we have over 1,800 full text e-journals, and that means they're available to you online. So as long as you've got a device, an internet connection, you can be reading and studying. I know that's what you all wanted to hear, but yeah, we've got all of those for you. And now I think it may actually have increased access to 30,000, more than 30,000 electronic books, reports, and dissertations. We have all the key nursing databases. If you're not sure what a database is, again, it's absolutely fine. That's the kind of thing we're here to explain, to give you training in, to help you make the most of our resources and your membership. Web chat service, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's answered by the staff based in London, and it's of such a good service, means you can get replies from anything. It could be simple, like how long are you open till, when are the libraries reopening, to something really complex if you're looking for, say, information for a dissertation. I know it's a long time to go until then, but you will get there. We can also offer you one-to-one or group training online, plus there are drop-in sessions available. All the information is on the website, and I know that one of my colleagues is behind the scenes and she's popping up those links for you. We do still have physical books, so they can be posted to your home, again, COVID permitting. I just have to interject there, and that's at no charge to you. So it shouldn't matter wherever you are in the UK, we will get the information you need to you. And as I've already said, we have libraries in all 4 UK countries, so Belfast, Cardiff, Edinburgh, and London. And apart from the fact that it's really good to have colleagues that we can talk to in all these different locations and make sure we're offering you the best service, another really important reason for this is because each of the governments in those countries has control over health policies and health care. So if you were ever looking for some specific guidance, we can make sure that you're getting the information relevant to whichever country you're working or studying in. All right, I think I've got some more treats coming up on the next page. Here we are. So I know that I've already said some of this, but I just really want to emphasize the virtual and online offer at the moment because it's been such a lifeline during the pandemic. So first thing, we have all of these online nursing journals that once you're a member, you'll need to log in to the website and then you can browse them all for free, including Nursing Standard. That's the current issue. Put the little cover up there for you. It's a fantastic service and a real added benefit of your membership. Web chat service, answers in a hurry. The virtual face-to-face training, and like this, you don't need any special software. You've just got to have access to your device and an internet connection. We've also got online subject guides, so looking at all those key nursing topics, including some of you might be helpful, things like doing your dissertation, getting started using the library, as well as broader things like sepsis, dementia, and LGBTQ health. Instructional videos on our YouTube channel, most of which are starring my colleague Alan from HQ. I'm sure he won't mind me giving him a shout out. And these are really good because obviously we all learn in different ways. So if you're somebody that prefers to hear someone telling you how to do something rather than reading information, it's all about making it work for you so that things are going to be easier for you. And of course, at the moment, again, touching on what Sam said, it's can be really difficult being a nurse and a student nurse. So we're offering some amazing free online wellbeing events. You can find more details about those on the main website. But for instance, the last year we've had yoga, singing, art classes, book club discussions, so lots of things because you're doing this such an important job and we want to support your well-being to make sure that you are being looked after as much as you're taking care of other people. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram where we'll be posting news, updates about the events, and handily we use the same handle at both at RCN Libraries. And if we turn the page, beautiful. I was so pleased with that page turning effect. Keep calm and ask a librarian. I know it might sound a bit silly, but really, this is why we're here. It is literally my job to answer your questions. And it's a job that I absolutely love having, as do all of my colleagues across the UK. So please, please, please don't hesitate to come and ask us. And the beauty of being a librarian, because I'm so lucky, I love my job and the nurses I know love their job. So really, it's wonderful. We know a lot more than Google. Obviously, that's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but what we can do is help you find information that's relevant for you. We can help you to find it quickly, and it's also about judging, is that information accurate? Obviously, in healthcare, it's so important to make sure that the information that you find is accurate and reliable. And of course, we've all heard during the pandemic some of the wilder, shall we say, rumours that have been circulating on the internet, or people thinking drinking bleach might be a good idea. So that's part of our role, that we're here to help people make sense of all that information swimming around out there. We'll help you find the stuff that's good for you. And I think I've got just one final slide. Yay, here we are. So I really can't say it enough. We are here to help you when and where you need us. So obviously we can be contacted in lots of different ways. I've mentioned web chat, I've mentioned email, I hope is on the website, but also those are the phone numbers for each of our main branches. So again, please don't hesitate to pick up a phone and give us a call. Always leave a message, I tell my members in Wales, because if I'm not there, I will get back to you. And same with email. You can email us any time of day or night and we will respond. And I just like to end with, you know, this lovely photo, two of my members studying in the library, and think that, you know, hopefully before too long, we'll be able to get back to some version of that. And I can't wait to meet some of you in person. So the best of luck with your studies. And don't forget, we're here to help you. No silly questions. And yeah, really looking forward to talking with some of more of you later. So thank you for listening, and I will now hand you back to Sam.
Thank you so much for that, Vicky. That was really good, and I'm sure me and a lot of other fellow students maybe didn't know just how much the RCN has to offer. And also, I really like how you've offered help when we're in essay crisis, because that happens, where you just sat on the computer not knowing what to write. So knowing that web chat function's there is quite helpful. So our next speaker tonight is Claire, who is a senior welfare advisor at the RCN. So over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Sam. That's brilliant. And thank you, Vicky. I've learned something about the libraries this evening, which is always good. Yeah, as Sam said, my name's Claire Cannings. I'm the Senior Welfare Advisor in Member Support Services. And before working at the RCN, I worked in student welfare at King's College. And then for a short period of time with Guy's and St Thomas's. So I've been working with students, specifically student nurses, for quite a few years. So I'm quite familiar with some of the issues that you come across, and I'll go through some of those now. I'm going to kind of do a bit of a whistle-stop tour of member support services. There's 5 services available to students. These are the counselling service, the immigration advice service, the careers service, the welfare service, and our peer support services. Lots of services in there. It may be that some of the provisions are also available at your university. What's available on campus will depend very much on the size and the structure of your university. As Sam has said that she's been working with the student union recently to bring up some of the issues that our student nurses experience when they're kind of interacting with student services. There's quite a few issues that our students have raised about accessibility to the provision that's available on campus. And the availability of the services, especially when nurses are on placement. As we know, placements aren't 9 to 5, so students who are trying to access some of the university services find that they simply can't access the service because they're on placement. Also, sometimes it's a geographical issue. The student services are often placed on the main campus, and often our nursing students might be on a satellite campus, so they're simply not able to get over to the campus. So what I thought I'd do might be helpful is I thought I'd run through what the RCN member support services can offer that might be a bit different to what's available to you at the university, or kind of more nursing student focused than might be available to you. Now, what I would say is that we're not saying that you should use the RCN services, and we're not saying that you should use your university services. It's just about choice. So where there's an overlap, you can decide what fits best for you, or there may be even certain circumstances where you can use both. So I'll start with our counselling service. With the RCN counselling service, you can have up to 6 sessions with a counsellor or a psychotherapist. Now, your presenting issue doesn't have to be related to your course or placement. It often is, but we realise that anything that's going on in your life that's affecting your mental health can impact on your studies. So it might be that you're having an issue with a relationship on a placement, but it could be that you've got relationship issues at home. for example, and that might be impacting on your studies. So don't feel that you can only use the RCN service if it's related to your course, because it's certainly not the case. Our service is slightly different to most university provision because we can offer weekend and evening appointments for our members. What I would say is that our waiting times can vary. They can be anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. But what you could do, and this is a little bit cheeky, is that you might want to use the RCN counselling provision for 6 sessions. And then if you still need more sessions, you might want to use your university provision, which is an amazing, if you get sort of 12 sessions over 3 months as part of your membership. That's a great service. Moving on to our immigration service. Now, universities don't tend to offer specialist legal advice in this area. So if you or even a family member are wanting to apply for, say, citizenship or indefinite leave to remain in the UK, or if you're one of our wonderful EU nursing students and you're looking at your work options sort of post-Brexit, either after your course is finished or even during your course, then you can initially get advice from our immigration service, or they will help you with an application to the Home Office. It's worth mentioning that if you were to, for example, make an application to the Home Office for indefinite leave to remain, and you instructed a private solicitor, it would cost you hundreds of pounds. Now, that's something that comes free as part of your RCN membership. So certainly, if you're in that position or a family member is in that position, explore the RCN provision first, because you're going to save yourself an absolute fortune. Our careers service obviously is very different to the university provision in most cases, because it's offering a specialist nursing careers service, a bit like Vicky was saying about the library. It's a specialist nursing library. We have a specialist nursing careers service. There's a huge amount of fact sheets on the web page, and the careers advisor told me just before I came on tonight that as of this week they've had 64,000 hits on the careers service website just in the careers area in the last 2 months. So it's obviously a well utilised and well thought of provision for our students. I did say that I would, because I probably can't do it justice talking about it, just give you a quick look at the provision that's available on site for, the site for students. If I can share my screen successfully, I will try and do that. Here we go. So what it's got is information about applying for jobs. It says getting ready for your first job, but I imagine that they're talking about your first nursing job. CV writing for nursing students, job application writing. I think this one's particularly helpful. It's the supporting statements that go alongside your application. I think a lot of our student members really struggle with that the first time that they apply for a job. There's information about the interview process, so sample interview questions, managing interview nerves, talking about assessment centres, which are more and more sort of prevalent in the interview process, and information about presentation skills. Going back to the interview process, our careers coaches will also do interview practice with you. So if you, like most of us do, suffer from kind of pre-interview nerves, what you can do is book in a one-to-one appointment with a careers coach, and they will run through an interview practice with you. And what we find is often that if you do the practice beforehand, your nerves at the actual interview will come right down. And also it will highlight any kind of tricky areas that you're struggling with, and you can go away and perhaps do some more research about that. One-to-one appointments with the careers advisor might also be slightly different to what you're used to and your university offer, in that they take a coaching approach to careers. They look at you as an individual and what you want to achieve. So it's not advice as such. For example, you might be thinking about changing your speciality. So rather than just looking at the course structure of the new course that you're thinking about doing, they would explore your motivation for changing course. So what appeals to you in the new course? What's sort of stopping you from continuing on the pathway that you're on at the moment? I mean, it might be that you've just had a really bad placement and that's sort of tainting your view of that particular pathway, and they'll make sure that you are, you're sort of a kind of a holistic approach to the issue, so that you're making the right decisions for the right reasons. You can have up to 3 sessions with a careers coach, and again, that's probably not something that the university would offer. I think that probably covers it for careers. Next is the welfare service. That's my service, and we provide advice and representations on problems relating to welfare benefits, accommodation issues. So often our students will find that they might not get their deposit back, and we can provide advice, especially if that goes to county court, and representation in those instances. We are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority to provide debt and money advice for students and for other members. We also put together the Student Money Guide, which I think has got something in there for all students. It covers the funding arrangements across the 4 countries. If you're studying currently, you might think, oh, well, I know what I'm entitled to, but actually there are the funding arrangements across the 4 countries are quite complicated, and there are add-ons that you can get depending on where you're studying and what you're studying. So it covers those. It talks you through benefit entitlement whilst you're studying. So you might be a parent, all the benefits that you can receive. Looks at the childcare options. So the best option for your child, or the cheapest often option for your child. It covers all the childcare options in there. Also looks at hardship grants that might be available across the 4 countries. So like I said, there's tips in there from the library about saving money, and some tips from other students about how they have managed their money through their course. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is one of the most common presenting issues for students at the moment for the welfare service is the way student funded is being treated by the Department for Work and Pensions in terms of benefit calculation. Now, this isn't just across one country, we're seeing it across all 4 countries. So what I would say is that if you are or have been receiving any benefits prior to starting your course, then do get your benefits calculation checked. In the past couple of months, I've seen 2 that have been correct. All the rest have been incorrect. We've managed to get the Department for Work and Pensions to look at the calculations again, and our students have had between £400 and £4,000 in additional benefits because we've asked them to review it. We've written to the Minister for Welfare to advise them that students are being shortchanged. They've come back to say that they have issued some new guidance to the Department for Work and Pensions, but I can't stress enough to get your calculations checked. We can do that in the welfare service. All we need you to do is just to email through to us your benefits breakdown and your student funding calculation, and we can look at it, or your university welfare officer might be able to do that for you as well. Finally, our peer support service. Now, this is for our members with a disability. It's very much a member-based service, so it's members supporting members. There's a Facebook group, there are online forums, they organise training events. I see in terms of our student members and the benefits that they have received from it, that they offer a matching service. So you might be a student who has, for example, dyslexia or a hearing impairment. What they will do is try and match you up with another member, hopefully a student member who has been through that journey, because often it can feel quite isolating. And also then if you're going in, you're taking your first step towards your first job, then they will try and match you with somebody who has managed in the work environment and the adaptations that have been made for them there. So I think that's it from me, Sam. So back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. You raised so many really good points there that I was making notes that I thought was really good. So I talk a lot about advocacy, and I really like what you said about choice and about having choice between the Students' Union and the RCN services. We would absolutely always advocate for that for our patients, so why would we not advocate for that for ourselves? I thought the point about DWP and benefits, it's something I'm going to take away, and it's something I'm definitely going to encourage all my friends to do. because a lot of student nurses are parents and have families and have mortgages and bills and all the relentless costs that life keeps bringing. So that's really good to know about. The career service, I thought that was really interesting because I think a lot of students might not necessarily think they need it, because we are all probably very likely to get a job when we finish. But if we're all likely to get a job when we finish, then we may as well take the opportunity to get the best job and the one that we want, and to have that kind of discussion with someone about what we really want to do, I think is really beneficial. So I thought that was really good. So on to our final speaker, which is Alan Cheng. This is going to start with a pre-recorded session, just to warn you all. And then after that, we've got the opportunity to ask questions. Please do ask as many questions as you want about anything we've discussed tonight or anything in general. Make the most of being here. There really are no stupid questions. And there's certainly quite a lot that I'm going to take away from this, but over to Alan.
Hi, welcome to this overview of starting out. So to get to starting out, you go to startingout.rcn.org.uk, and when you first access the site, it will ask you to log in before you can get all the information and features available. What Starting Out is a online resource that is created to target mainly for nurses who are just starting out in their careers, and so that the information and the features that are available within here are targeted towards helping you as you start going from a student into a nurse, just so that it gives you a bit more sort of a helping hand as to knowing what to expect. So as I mentioned, this is created as a progressive web app. So what that is basically, rather than being like a native app where you used to with your mobiles, this progressive web app basically means it's a website where you are able to make it function almost like an app. So for example, I'm currently in the browser Edge, and what I can do is if I click on this button here, I can install Starting Out as an app. So once that's done, you can see it's basically switched out of a browser completely and into it's acting like an app. And what you can also see here is that basically it's got its own icon. So what you can do is basically you can pin it to the taskbar. You can basically launch it using this icon here, and when you're on a mobile, it'll create an icon like an installed app. So on the home page, we have a few different icons here right at the top, which are areas that we try to feel that is most useful. So the My Pack basically is the RCN's welcome pack. My Details is the area where you're able to edit your personal information against your record if they ever change. My Career is basically an area that helps you look at how to, as you progress through your careers. Nurses and Essentials are things like crib sheets, which helps with questions that you might have. RCN magazine articles, it's just basically an area for being able to pull the magazine's articles through from the app. And support is support that you guys can access as an RCN member. So I'll skip the welcome pack, as I'm sure you've seen this already, and the My Details, I'll just quickly click on this. It's the same as the My Account area, so you can see basically it shows you your information and you're able to edit them if you wish. And then the My Career section, like I said, it basically is to help you with your career progression. So it helps you with your CV, applying for jobs, interviews, your career pathways, and one of the services that we'll look at shortly is obviously career coaching. And then, like I said, with the Nursing Essentials, these are some of the crib cards that we are basically organized based on different content to help you with information that you might need that's ready, that is quite easily accessible for you. And then here with the magazines articles, you can search for specific magazine articles and you can read them directly from the app. And then support, what you have here is basically all the different support you can have is unavailable to you as an RCN member. So there are money guides, for example, and legal support, and then there's some FAQs. You're able to call us, contact your branch, email to contact us, and we're currently working on web chat for you to access as well. And what you also have is obviously some support services. So the RCN offers some member support services, such as careers and counselling. And just going to come back to the home page, and then obviously here you're able to find out more about events that are happening and taking place as well, and then you can click on it for more information and book on them if you're interested. And further down, you can see there are member discounts, which are, as an RCN member, you are able to access RCN Extra, where it gives you a lot of discounts over various different sites. So it's taking me to RCN Extra now. So you can see there are different things that if you're looking for something specific. So homeware, for example, you're able to see sort of all the various different discounts you're able to get. There are a lot of different companies here that you're able to get. So what you also have is some wellbeing resources. So these are some articles, for example, related to well-being that you're able to get access to. And like I mentioned, in terms of some member support services, one of the other services available to you is regarding welfare and benefits. And with RCN Foundation, we also have scholarships and bursaries available to you. Like I mentioned about the counselling services, and then there's also a peer support service. There's also a tab here for accessing the library very quickly, where you're able to search for the through the library sources. So for example, if I go for dementia search, see it takes me to search for a lot of dementia related books that we're able to then take out or read. So basically this just gives you a quick overview of the library site in effect within starting out. And so you can also connect, where you're able to go to the RCN events, like I said, and there are also more information about student ambassadors and NRN network, so the newly registered nurse networks, what they are, their work, etc. So you can find more information and videos and things like that. And that is it for a quick whistle stop of starting out. So like I said, so it's a progressive web app, so you're able to access it on most browsers and on most mobile devices. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan. That was really useful and lots of really useful things. The thing I probably took away from that the most was the nursing essentials crib sheets that were on the app. I don't know if other student nurses feel the same, but you know, at the start of the year when you join RCA and you get them posted to you, and then you might lose them. So it's good to know that they're on the website, on the app. So now we've got time for some questions. So first question is for Vicky. Please can you throw a little light on the key nursing databases?
Oh, it's dangerous asking me to talk more about libraries. So of course I can. I'm not going to try and explain to you what a database is exactly, because you guys watching at home probably all know far better than me. I tend to think of it as it's a way of putting together a whole pile of information on a particular topic. So these different databases we have access to are all looking at nursing journals, nursing publications. So what I'm going to try and do now, go live, let's have a little look. And I know that Alan's already given us all a bit of a sneak peek in that the starting out app with the library website, but here we go. So this is what it looks like. And this is where all the database magic happens under here. So I'm going to click on there. And now at my screen, it will display a little differently because I'm on a laptop. It's squashed it all up. But these are all the different collections and databases we have. So CINAHL is one that you will hear about a lot. I'm going to try and remember what it stands for. Cumulative Index of Nursing and Allied Health Literature. Wow. So that's a database that's looking for articles on nursing and allied health. So it's a really excellent resource, but something that's quite important to know. It's from the United States, so it uses terms that don't quite translate over here, and it's got a wider focus on information and evidence from North America. So one that I really, really like, and I always start training, is British Nursing Index. So why this is so good, partly some of the university libraries in Wales don't offer it. So again, it's an added bonus of being a member of the Royal College of Nursing. It's based within the UK. Now, it doesn't mean every article or every piece of information you find in it is necessarily about the UK experience, but you're going to get a much higher proportion of information. And often when students come and talk to me about their assignments, they've been told that they have to look for examples from the UK. And it's also solely focused on nursing and midwifery. So a lot of the others are looking more broadly at medicine, at allied health. So they may have some nursing content, but not as much. So I'll just show you how the login works, even though Alan's already stolen my thunder in that little demo. So we're coming through to a login page. So you'll be logging in obviously as a member. I, though, am staff. So fingers crossed the technology gods are on my side. Yes, it's working. So here we are. And as you can see, if you haven't looked at one of these before, it all looks like Google, your standard search engine. So let's pop in dementia. I tend to suggest turning off autocomplete because it's not always very helpful. And we click on the little search tool, the little spyglass, and I'm really glad that's happened. 15,000 results. And I don't know if any of you are able to see on the screen when Alan was showing you the demo of the library site, it had, I think, 40,000 results when he was going through the main site search. So again, that's what I wanted to highlight really about why we're here for you, because 15,000 results on dementia, where do you begin? So that's where we come in to help you decide, okay, I'm only going to look at dementia in a particular setting, or I only want to focus on the last 5 years of publication. Obviously, it's a decisions that you will make in conjunction with your lecturers, but just to sort of, put that back out there. Couple of easy things we can do here. Doop-de-doo. Oh, that's embarrassing. I always sing while I'm doing things. I forgot that. So let's just pop that in. last 10 years or so, and already we've got rid of half of the results. I'm not going to drill down further than that because I'm not sure it'd be helpful, and I always promise not to blind people with library science, but hopefully that does shed a little bit of light as to what a key nursing database is. If it didn't help, that's fine. Just, get in touch. In fact, I will pop my work email into the chat box. So if anyone does want to follow up with me after, you're really, really welcome. And I'd also just like to echo something that Claire mentioned, and that, yes, RCN, biggest nursing library in Europe, loads of librarians who are all here, eager and willing to help you. But don't forget, make friends with your university librarians too. We're not in competition with each other, we're here to complement. So we may have some journals, some books, some services that they can't offer you, and equally they may have some other things that we're not in a position to do. Use all the libraries you can and think of how much easier the next 3 years will be. So probably more than you wanted to know. I will stop talking now and hand back to Sam. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. That was really helpful, and especially for me as I'm currently writing an essay about dementia. That was great. So question 2 is for Claire. If I have to repeat part of my course, can I get funding?
Thanks, Sam. Well, the short answer to that is yes. All 4 countries have provision to extend funding for up to 12 months, but often it depends why you're needing to repeat the funding. So, for example, if you're off sick, you can have up to 60 days absence and your funding just continues, and hopefully then you'll be able to make up any misplacements or any missed sort of course time within that academic year and not need to extend. But as we say, life happens. So it might be that you have a family situation where you're having to take some time out from your course, or often our students have babies, so they may need to come back and complete the course at a later date. So there is a maternity provision within the funding as well. So what I would say is that hopefully you don't need to repeat, but if you do, just be reassured that there is provision for at least 12 months, and in exceptional circumstances that can be extended.
That was really helpful, and I hope that helps others as well, because this is a big question that's been asked recently with everything that's happened with COVID and everything. Yeah, so we'll move on to question 3, which is a question for me. How can you find out more about student committee activities? First thing I want to say is Twitter. We love Twitter. That is a complete conversation for another day. So we'll pop a link to our Twitter in here. So we've got, you can message us or you can tweet us and things or whatever you want to do. We've got a page on the RCN website which has our email address on it, so you can drop us an email if that's your preferred doing, or contact RCN in whatever communication way works best for you, and they can ping your details across to us, and then we can find out what works best, because not everyone wants to email, not everyone wants to Twitter, not everyone wants to do phone. So just get in touch with RCN and they'll pass your details to us, basically. But big love for Twitter. So then we've got the 4th question, which is for Alan. Can we use RCN starting out offline?
So yeah, short answer is yes, you can. So the obviously, like what you mentioned in terms of the crypt cards, obviously it's useful to have. So some of the content on the site basically is cached as soon as you visit them. So any pages that you looked at whilst being on the starting out app, you're able to see again. Some of the features obviously aren't going to be available, such as being able to update your information or doing a library search, because obviously that involves actually connecting to some databases. But a lot of the content wise, as soon as the first time you go onto the page, the app basically saves a copy of it onto the app itself, so that you can come back to it and read it at different time, even when you're offline. That's really helpful, and it's good that it saves things so it can think, so we don't have to. Love that.
So question 5 is for Vicky. How many books can I get out of the library at the same time and for how long?
Well, obviously, I have to sort of qualify my answer here by saying physical books, it's all a bit COVID dependent. Under normal operating circumstances, you can borrow 8 books at a time for 4 weeks, and they can then be renewed, which you can do yourself using the website. You can phone us, you can drop us an email, and we'll make sure that we can extend those loans. At the moment, obviously, things are a little bit different. So people who have had books at home, we've just been extending those loans. I think 4th of October, everything's due back. So we're going to be pretty busy on the 4th of October as the mountain of materials returns. I should also mention, so I did say in the presentation that we have online books available too. They work a little bit differently. Obviously, it's not a physical item. So when you take one of those out and borrow it, it sits on your device for it's usually 3 days. They vary between either a 1-day or a 3-day loan, but then it automatically, please don't ask me, I don't know how it works, to take it off your device. So with those, you don't need to worry about returning them, about renewing them. And of course, if you wanted it for longer, you can just go and borrow it again. But I'm thinking, as I said that, probably Alan could explain how that all works, but I won't put him on the spot. So hope that helps answer the question.
If it doesn't help us answer the question, you've made very clear that you are very approachable. So you may have people get in touch with you after this. That person may also be me. So question 6 is for Claire. Do you offer face-to-face counselling?
So the RCN counselling service is a telephone-based service because we cover the whole of the UK, and in order to keep our waiting times as small as possible, as short as possible, then we allocate counsellors across the UK. What I would say is we often speak to members who are a little bit ambivalent about doing telephone counselling initially, and then once they've done their sessions, it's been hugely successful. It means that they can be a bit more flexible. They don't need to travel to an appointment. It can be something that they might even be able to do in a break at work. Like I said, we offer sort of later in the evening appointments and weekend appointments. So what I would say is if you're thinking about counselling and you're a little bit unsure about whether to go for telephone counselling, is give it a go. You're not committed. You can do your initial session on the phone. If you're absolutely wedded to face-to-face counselling, then I imagine at some point in the future, then the student university offer will be reopening for face-to-face counselling, and you might want to try that instead.
Thank you, Claire. That's really helpful. And I really enjoyed what you said earlier about marrying up with the counselling that RCN offers and with what the Students' Union offer. And also you might have local providers near you. So if you marry them all together and they all give you 6 sessions or so, then that's quite a lot of sessions.
It is. And it's amazing.
Yeah. So, and I agree about the point about phone counselling. It's something I've received myself. I was reluctant. You don't know until you try it. So question 7 is for Alan. Can I use Starting Out if I'm not a member?
The short answer is no, because obviously these are some of the features and functionalities that you have as part of being a RCN member. We just basically condensed a lot of the content and features that's available to members, but targeting specifically the student-related queries within Starting Out. So when people are not logged in, when they go onto the app, they will get a lot of information in regards to how to join the RCN and the benefits, but to use some of the functionalities themselves, they need to be members.
Thank you for answering that, Alan. So question 8 is for me, which is what can I expect from my placement? I would say prepare for your mind to be blown, and not in a bad way. You'll learn things that you never think you need to learn. You'll have things come up that you never thought would be useful for anything, and then it comes up and you think, oh yeah, I didn't know how to do that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself for knowing all the clinical skills straight away. No one does. And if you think you know everything, then nursing's possibly not the profession for you, because we will never know everything. I would just say prepare for the unexpected and make sure you've got a really good support network around you, because it's emotional and that's all right. But each place is different. Like there's community, there's hospitals, there's all sorts. Doesn't entirely answer the question, but follow us on Twitter. Let's get a conversation going. So question 9 is for Vicky. When will the physical libraries open again?
Well, I wish I could say for sure, because I'm dying to get back into the library, deal with the hundreds of books that are going to be returned, and start meeting with people again and helping you in person. But I'm afraid the short answer is I don't know. We are keeping the main RCN library website where I just took you. All the information is posted on there. Please don't hesitate to get in touch as well, phone, email, whatever is easiest for you if you want to check in. What I would advise is don't turn up if you haven't checked, because some members have tried doing that in Cardiff. I understand, I want to go into, but obviously we're not open. The flip side though is, even though the physical libraries are shut, we've got all those online resources for you, which are there 24/7. And my terrible joke, it's a bit of a dad joke, is that you can take the librarian out of the library, but you can't take the library out of the librarian. Yeah, I can see Sam laughing at me. So, you know, even if I'm not there, I'm still your librarian, as are my colleagues across the UK. So don't be put off, don't be deterred. I know the physical study space is really important to a lot of you. I do completely hear that, but we have to wait. And as soon as it is safe for us to open, we will do. And I will be delighted to see you then.
Thank you, Vicky. That was a very nice answer to the question. It's really nice how passionate you are about libraries. So question 10 is for me. Which RCN services or resources have I found the most useful? To be honest, it's probably the RCN students ambassadors in the student committee, just getting the student voice heard, because student nursing is really hard, and it's really nice to know that other people are going through the same kind of stuff. It's been useful to connect with people from other universities to know that it's not just us, it's not just regional, it's national, it's across 4 countries, so it's nice to not feel alone. Ask me tomorrow about the library, because I probably said library. Vicky, I'm going to be in touch.
Thank you.
But I think I've definitely learned quite a lot, and there's a lot more to the RCN membership than I was aware of, so this session's been very useful. We've had another question just come in, question for Claire. Is there a limit to how many counselling sessions you can have in a year?
There is a limit to how many you can have in 6 months, and that is the 6 that we talked about earlier. After that 6 months, if you still need counselling, then you can come back and put a request in for another 6 sessions. In that 6 months, you might have used the university counselling service as well, so you could, potentially follow that through. So yes, in a year, it would be a maximum of 12 sessions.
Thank you, Claire. That's really helpful. But again, love what you said about marrying it up with other services. So if that's not enough, there are other services available. So that's really helpful. Thank you. So I think that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you to all of the presenters and to you for attending. You'll receive an email in the next few days that's got a recording from tonight. And for further information about all student membership benefits, go to www.rcn.org.uk/students, and to join the RCN, please visit www.rcn.org.uk/join. There is a lot of benefits. I've really enjoyed tonight. Just thank you everyone for speaking, and thank you everyone that submitted a question. Really appreciate it. Good night, everyone.